Hey everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. We are finally back after our little summer vacation, and we have a huge lineup of different guests, episodes, and lots more stuff down the pipeline, so we're super excited to be back. Today we're getting a chance to sit down with Jeremy Pare of Gracie Barra, training out of Ottawa, but right now he's currently training out of California in the USA. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast streams on all audio formats, especially on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, whatever your flavor is. Support of the Choking Hazard podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best and below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped has just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. That's right, you heard it, the 4.0. Join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with an exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code CHPODCAST at manscaped.com. Just imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. Now, let me tell you one thing. Having tried the Manscaped 4.0 myself, plus some products like the Preserver and the Crop Ball Basic deodorant, it's been great. You have a good trim, you can shower after, put some ball deodorant on, and you're ready to rock. It's a great product. They have a huge lineup of different things that you have available for you, so you can choose and mix and match, and you can have a great deal, but also it's free shipping. You can't go wrong. So remember, get 20% off at free shipping with code CHPODCAST at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code CHPODCAST, unlock your confidence, and always use the right tools with the job of Manscaped. We are also sponsored by Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top CBD and THC brands and cannabis, you got to go to Spirit Leaf Waterdown and meet Alex and his crew at that shop. They're going to help you out with the best service possible and also hook you up with a discount. All you're going to do is download their Instagram and our Instagram, show them that you follow the podcast, and they're going to give you 10% off every time you shop there. Not just once, but every single time. You're going to be part of the collective. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to us or at Alex at Spirit Leaf Waterdown, and you'll get all the things that you need to get all the way through there. Thanks everybody. We hope you enjoy the episode, and we'll see you soon. And we got lots more stuff down the pipeline. Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back from holiday. This is the Choking Hazard podcast. Today we are joined with Jeremy Pare. I'm butchering this French, but I'm going to try my best. But welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining us. You're joining us all the way from California, sir. Tell us where you are. Tell us where you're training out of. We'd love to hear this.
So right now I'm training out of Gracie Barra, Newport Beach, under Professor Kendall Rusing. I've been living out here for since June-ish. I'm here for the next 6 months, preparing for Pans, Nogi Worlds, Ski Worlds, trials, pretty much everything. So it's super awesome here. Cal lifestyle is amazing.
I saw you training with, I think it was Octavio Sousa as well recently as well. How did that go for you?
Not good. It's really awesome. You know, like in California, Gracie Barra has a really strong presence. So there's a lot of Gracie Barra schools all over the place. Like right now, so I'm in Newport. I go 20 minutes up. I'm in Ottavio's school, which is in Huntington Beach. And so I go there around twice a week, at least I try. And then on Sundays, I go to Karen Gracie School in Rancho Santa Maria. So good training, and definitely high-level training partners here. Ottavio Souza, Karen Gracie, Professor Kendall Rusing, Salviera. Like, there's so many great ones here. Ottavio messes me up pretty. It's rough. It's a rough one.
I've told my story of training with a lot of high level guys. Like I think I told my JT Torres story on here a couple of times. Zach Maxwell just completely just obliterating me like every set. Basically just like feeling like a white belt. And you're like, hey, I'm going to get ready for Worlds. I'm like a blue belt, purple belt. I think I'm pretty good. And then you roll with these guys and you just realize like how much you are either really, really bad at jiu-jitsu or how really, really good they are.
Like with Ottavio, it's not even fair. Like I felt like a tiny champ. Like when I went there, I felt like I was 4. Like I remember like he went, and I think he cross choked me like at least 7 times. Like, and we did like, he was like, oh, I need to get my cardio back, because he just had a baby too, so he's not like in like peak shape. So I was like, okay, this is my time to go and not get really messed up. And that was not a good choice. And he just beat me up. They're like,
he's like, oh man, I need to get my cardio back. And thanks for rolling with me. I like tapped you like 10 times.
yeah, like, and then like Wednesday, we like Shark Tanked him for 30 minutes. And he's like, okay, so we're gonna go, and basically the next guy goes in when I tap you. And we're like, what if we tap you, bro? And it's like, no, that didn't happen. For 30 minutes straight, he just like messed us up like it was nothing. Like every minute, just tap, 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 tap for 30 minutes straight. It was not good. Yeah, he's something else.
So what kind of was the motivation to head down to California for this, like the 6-month training camp?
So it kind of happened all of a sudden. So before I was in California, I was in Houston, Texas for around 5 months. And I was training out there with Pedro Marino, Bruno Matias, Upiano, and basically the team down there. And basically I totaled my car out there. So I like drove down, totaled my car, so I couldn't make any more money. So I lived off the insurance money, and I was like, okay, just go back home. And it was around May. And I was supposed to work this like pool installing job during the summer, just because like, you know, I had to make money and blah, blah, blah. And I was like really not happy with that. And I didn't want to settle for that. So basically that's like the great thing about Gracie Barra is like the network is so big. And in I went to Mexico in February for like this big training camp. And I met Professor Kendall down there, and I saw like this ad that she like needed instructors or something like that. So I called her up and I'm like, hey, professor, I'm like, this is what happened. You know, I don't want to work this pool installing job. Do you need any help in California? She was like, yeah. She's like, how soon can you be here? I'm like, well, I got my 2 weeks quarantine. Give me like 2 weeks to get my things together so I can be there in 4 weeks. She's like, okay, perfect. 4 weeks later, fly out here, and I've been here ever since. So yeah, it was just kind of like all of a sudden, just restrictions, things like that. I didn't want to like, I didn't want to be stuck in the past again, like because of COVID and like the restrictions in Ontario. Like you never know, like they keep opening and closing, and instead of dealing with that, I just decided to come here when I knew everything was open and staying open at least. So yeah, that was the plan.
How's the training scene down there? Like what's going on? Are like clubs open? You guys are rolling? Things are pretty much back to normal?
Everything's back to normal. Like they took off the mask mandate too. So when I landed here, like it was literally like I was in 2019, like no mask, nothing, everything's open. So it feels really good to be here. Now it's like, I think they're going to start putting the mask back up. Like it depends the county. Like I'm in Orange County right here. So it's still pretty like chill, and they don't really care about COVID that much. So it's pretty open. But like when you go up to like LA County, that's when it's like super restricted, like the mask, and it's all super crazy. So thankfully, I think we'll be good here to stay open, no mask, no nothing. So right now we're training 100% like normal. We have like, yeah, everything's back normal. It feels so good. It feels like we're in 2019 basically. Yeah.
What's like some of the training like contract? Because like you trained in just for the record, like like tell us like where you trained in Canada, and then like contrast like maybe or compare like the training like in Canada and the US, and like what are some differences? What are some things you found the same? Different Gracie Barras, for example, like do they do different styles of training? Does it depend on the instructor? Like what are like some things that you found were similar and different?
So the big difference I think right now is like, so I train out at Gracie Barra, Ottawa, under Professor Nicholas Castiglis and Mark Holst. So yeah, those are my main instructors, and like I've been with them ever since I'm like a little kid. And so back home, the training was really good. Like we're actually starting to build a team. We got the Booty Brothers on our squad too. We have like Professor Cameron. So we're slowly starting to build like a really strong team. And our comp team back home, it's every day. So Monday to Friday, and sometimes Saturdays, I think Saturdays too. In our comp team, we do like very like specific sparring. So we'll do like 2 micro positions to like help us warm up, whether it's side control, mount, back, whatever it is. And then after that, we'll do around like half an hour of just like king of the hill, line drills, close yard stuff, just working on a guard, passing. And then after that, we'll do rounds. So that's like the big mentality over in Canada. We'll just like basically die after an hour. In Houston, it's very like there's a lot of technique, so it's very technical sparring. So like when I was out there, we would do like well, it's like 15 to 20 minutes of just technique.
Sorry, one sec. Your audio is just cutting out a little bit.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so
Okay,
in Houston at West Chase, it's very technical. So we'll do like 15 to 20 minutes of just repping techniques or repping sequences. Like I remember like Professor Pedro, he loves talking about sequences where like you have to connect movements. So like we would start and it was literally feet to floor like it was a match. So we'd like, if you want to pull, that's fine, but you pull into a sweep into submission. Or if you want to take down, you take down, pass, submit. And that was kind of warm up. And then after that, it was just a lot of rolling. You know, feet to floor, just getting used to like connecting those movements, connecting those sequences. Over here, it's much longer training. So the training here is 2 hours long for the competition training. It's 2 hours just nonstop, and they kill you basically. And like in both West Chase and Ottawa, it's 1 hour. Here it's 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, depending on the day. So we'll do like 1 to 2 technique just to get our body warmed up. We'll do like jogging around, normal warm up. And then after that, we'll do a lot of shark tank. But the shark tank that we do like micro positional shark tank. So how it works is we'll do like, let's say like this week we worked on the mount a lot. So we had one guy on the bottom for like 6 minutes. And then every minute you get a new fresh guy in on top of you trying to submit you. And your goal is just to escape the mount. So you're getting used to those micro positions a lot. And then after those 6 minutes, then it's your turn to go on top. You stay on top for 6 minutes. And then after that, every minute, you get a new guy in. And then basically you have like groups of 4 to 5, and they all do their turn. And then after that, we'll do like another position. We'll do around like 2 to 3 rounds of that kind of like micro positional, like sparring / shark tank. And then after that, we'll do like long sparring sessions. So we'll do like 4 to 5 rounds of like 6 to 8 minutes, depending on the day. And then after that, we'll end it off. Like this week, we needed a guardian. Professor Solo thought we needed our cardio back, so we did like 3 minutes. So we ended off with 3 rounds of 3 minutes of like shadow wrestling, where like down blocks, sprawls, and shooting. So we're staying in our stance the whole time. After you're like dead tired, you don't want to do it at all. But it's like that last 3 minutes is what like helps your cardio get up, helps like, especially for like our mindset, you know, it's like when you're dead tired, there's like 1 minute left in the match, you have to keep pushing. That's really what it helps us, like kills our legs. And then we'll do like 2 to 3 rounds of that. And then after that, the training session will be done. So it's really long training sessions here, but very like specific training. So yeah, that's kind of the big difference. And like, depending on the instructor too, depending on who's getting ready for what, the training will be different, right? So like here, when Professor Kendall was getting ready for a fight to win fight, or gi title fight, we were training a lot in the gi. Right now, you know, Professor Saul, he's getting ready for his ADCC trials. So we're training a lot in no. So it kind of bounces around. Whereas like at West Chase, it was kind of like 50-50, where we do like no gi in the morning, gi at night. And I was just like set in stone. Where like here, it kind of just depends on what you're getting ready for. Like I'm getting ready for Pans right now, so I'm training a lot in gi. But Sol was training a lot in no gi for no gi trials. Whereas back home's a lot of gi training. Like in Canada, I find like it's very focused on the gi still. Not to say that we're behind, but you know, like the heel hooks game is still very recent to Ontario. I don't think like I don't know if there's any tournaments right now like promoting it. But I think now that BJJ is doing it now, slowly people are going to start learning about it and things like that. Whereas here, like we've like ever since I've been in the States, I've been trained with leg locks, trained with heel hooks. So you get used to those like positions a lot. I find like that's a big difference between the US and Canada. The level depends, you know, like I've been training world champions here. Back home, I have Cameron. So it's we have like a lot of like close guys. So the training, honestly, it just depends who shows up. You know, as long as you get like 4 or 5 great guys on the mats, you can have a really tough training session. You know, so that's all you need to have a good team and build a world champion, I think. So yeah, that's a big difference. Heel hooks compared to no heel hooks in Canada. I think that's the major difference between the two.
So when you guys are like in camp, obviously there's always a debates of like how many days of training you should do compared to rest and like strength training. Like, so how have you kind of like formulated your program? How many like training sessions are you doing a day or like per week? And are you adding strength training in there as well?
So here I've actually been doing a little bit less training, weight training. When I was in Houston, I was doing one no gi session a day and one gi session a day. Plus I was weightlifting. And I found I was weightlifting, like powerlifting. So I was lifting really heavy. And I found like that was really good, but my joints and my body was getting messed up. Like I just couldn't do, like by the Friday, you're just dead. And like Saturday, Sunday, you need to take off.
Yep, been there.
It's terrible.
I've done that. I did that for Worlds, where it was just like lift 2 or 3 jiu-jitsu sessions a day, and then like 2 weeks in, like my body was just throbbing. Like I couldn't.
Yeah, it's not good. Like we think, like especially in jiu-jitsu, we talk a lot about like longevity. It's like, and you can't do that all your life. You're gonna die.
You can't.
Like your joints are getting messed up. Whereas here, here I'm training a lot. So I'm doing 4 comp training sessions a week. So I got Monday, Friday here in Newport, and then I'm trying to hit Wednesdays and Sundays with Otavio. So that's like set in stone right now, especially getting ready for Pans. I have to train with Otavio a lot. So he's the best middleweight, so it helps me prepare a lot. So the 4 comp training is really important. And then after that, on Thursday mornings, I have we have like kind of like drilling. It's not too crazy, like crazy rounds, but it's a lot of like technical stuff. We just kind of like sit around and talk about techniques, like kind of share whatever we want to talk about. Like last week we talked about like heel hooks, things like that. So it just really depends on what we want to do. But it's a lot of drilling and like specific drilling, nothing too crazy. And then after that, I'll lift right now. I'm only lifting like 2 times a week. So I'm doing like nothing too crazy, a lot of like functional training, functional lifting. I'm training with Professor Kendall's coach here, Coach Ashley. She's helping us a lot, like getting us in shape. And it's nothing like super intense. Like by the end of it, you're not like dead tired, but you feel like you're getting much stronger just because like you're utilizing just enough of your strength, but you're still keeping enough in the tank where like you can still push it again at night. So I find like that's the big difference where like here compared to Houston, where we're like a little bit smarter. And here too, the big thing is we're talking a lot about routines. Like we have like a mental performance coach here, and he talks a lot about like, having our morning routines or PM routines. And it's like that, and staying consistent with that is really helping us. So just having like a consistent, like Professor says, so we actually just finished talking about this, like 168 hours of like consistency, all week long, having the same weeks, like that really helps us like maintain our success rate pretty high and maintain our body at a level where like we can push all week long. So we're honestly training and teaching like 6 to 7 days a week. If we feel like we need a day off, we'll take the day off. But honestly, I haven't taken too many days off here just because like I don't need to, because we'll train just enough for like when we need to, like when we're like dying, that's when we stop. And then after that, we get enough time to recover, and then we go again. So that's, I find like the really good thing about here. It's like, I find like a lot of people, they like focus too much on just like killing themselves, or like, okay, but like at the end of the week, you can't train. So now we're training just as much, but because it's so specific and so it's a routine, your body gets used to doing it. So the more you can do it, the better you get. I find like that's our trick here, and that's what's really helping us.
Awesome. A couple things that you mentioned, I thought they were really cool. Like in like so like I'm a big proponent of like strength and conditioning. You were talking about like powerlifting and all that, which I think is fantastic. But what's the difference between like your kind of like powerlifting routine that you're doing on your own, and then like the training sessions that you're doing with what was the coach's name again? And then just break down like, okay, and then like just break down like the difference between like what you were doing on your own and like what you're doing with her.
The big difference when I was on my own, like I was going like 24 hours of fitness, and like I was deadlifting a lot, squatting a lot, and benching a lot. So yes, it's like 3 typical movements, but you don't see that in jiu-jitsu often. Like one, you should never bench press anyone off you in jiu-jitsu. Like, yeah, sure, you could argue deadlift you use a lot, but I was going like really heavy. Like I think like I was going like 2-3 plates like pretty much every day for like anything. And it was cool when like I was lifting heavy and stuff, but I was just like, it was hurting, like by the end of the week. Like I remember one day, like I just had to take the day off because I couldn't walk down my stairs where I was living. It was just like terrible. Whereas here, like what we're doing a lot of like movements that you see in jiu-jitsu, like super light weights, like nothing crazy. Like I think right now the most we've lifted with Coach Ash is maybe like 100 pounds. So we're keeping everything super light. So it's super much easier on our joints. We're focusing a lot on like movements that we see in jiu-jitsu, strength that we're using, like muscles that we're using through jiu-jitsu, and like weird positions, like weird way of doing like, or like rows. So like we'll do like, for examples, instead of doing like seated rows, like cable rows, we'll be on like this weird like bear crawl position, and we'll have a kettlebell and we'll just do rows from there. So it's this weird position where like normally you wouldn't think of doing it, but just because you're in this like weird position that you have to use those muscles. Like I think we were using a 20-pound weight and like we were dying. Or we'll do like, instead of doing like a normal bench press, we'll take like a yoga ball and we'll put like half our body on the yoga ball, and then we'll do a bench press or like a one-handed press from there. So the difference is, instead of going like super heavy, we're staying small, but we're putting our body in positions that like it forces us to work a little bit harder, but while keeping the weight way lighter. So it just helps us get stronger in a much lighter way.
I think so you guys are keeping it more like highly functional, a lot of repetitions, really kind of building up strength endurance rather compared to like strength and like hard lifting on the joints. Yeah, that's really good. I think that's a good smart class.
And like too, like there's days where like we just go in and like, we call them like crusty Mondays, where like we wake up and we're just like dying. And like Coach Ashley will see that, and instead of like lifting, we'll just do mobility for an hour. So it's like really like a big part of it is listening to your body, listening to how you're feeling that day. And like, sure, if you want to like go lift, like fine, go lift, but don't like kill yourself lifting. Just use it enough where you get stronger, but not enough where you're dying. Like that's a big difference between here and Houston, I find.
Do you think, sorry, Mike, I just want to ask this.
Go ahead.
Like, because that concept of like you being smarter, like you listening to your body, how like, do you think that's just a maturity thing of athletes just kind of getting more mature and listening to their body? Or is it just like they're still trying to grind out that old way of thinking, or if you're not tired, you're not working? Like, do you think that's still around, or like you think athletes are getting smarter, especially in the jiu-jitsu scene?
I mean, I think it's very controversial, because you got, like I love Professor Homolo, but his catchphrase is everyday plot. It's like, which is cool. Sure, you can train hard every day and like crush it every day, but at one point, are you just training to train and not training to get better? Like that's a big difference. Like here, we can train 7 days a week at a constant pace while still getting better, and we can do that all year long. Whereas like if I'm training like, I don't know, as hard as I can, well, now I have to do camps. I have to break them down like 1 month, 2 month scenarios where like, okay, I know I just got to push it for those 2 months. And then after that, I'll have like 1 or 2 months off, or like 1 or 2 weeks off where I can just in bed chilling for the day. Whereas here, like we don't need to do that. Like we're super consistent and being smart with our body by like, when I say listening to our body, it's not necessarily like slacking off or taking the day off. It's like, okay, like we're using Whoop a lot. Like this is like the new thing, like Whoop and like intensity recovery. And basically like there's like, you literally see like a circle, and if it's green, it's green. If it's yellow, and there's like green, yellow, red. If you're in the red, like I think it's like under 25% and you're in the red, well, okay, instead of training hard today, we're going to do mobility, we're going to do reps, and then we're going to watch instructionals. So that's how we're going to use that, like our day off to like still get better. Whereas like some people, they would see that like red and they'll be like, well, got to do 8 rounds of 8 minutes now. Let's go. And it's like, you're not getting better, bro. Like you're just killing yourself for nothing. Yeah. Whereas here, like we're finding a ways to still get better while we're like dead tired. Now that's a big difference, I find.
I think it's key. I think using the Whoop straps very important. I think I was doing something like that was a little more primitive like years ago, but just like monitoring like your resting heart rate in the morning. I think Whoop kind of does like a heart rate variability thing. So it's looking
heart rate variability.
Yeah. So then like that'll tell you if you're either good to go, maybe you dial it back a bit, or you take a rest, like an active recovery day, basically. And I think it's essentially what you're using with that. And I think it's honestly the smarter way of training, I think, going forward. I think, jiu-jitsu, especially the last, I would say 5 years from what I've seen, has gotten a lot more quote unquote professional, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Like
athlete based, right?
The training is a lot more organized. Like, you see a lot more people like yourself, they're training like professional athletes versus like, 10 years ago you show up and it's like, all right, let's do a leg drag. And then like, okay, let's roll for 3 hours. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey guys, open mats for 3 hours, don't stop rolling.
Like go. I mean, like sometimes that's cool, but at the same time, like I think what you're doing is you're training smart. Like you're basically, from what you're telling us, like your training's a lot more structured, it's a lot more organized. You know when to push hard. There's times you need to push hard, and there's definitely times you need to dial it back a bit.
Yeah, and like that's just how it is, And with jiu-jitsu too, it's like, like Professor Master Carlos, he talks about a lot, like longevity, being able to do this all your life. Like I forgot how old he is, but like he's in his 60s and he's still doing it. It's like if I want to be able to get to the point where I'm 60 years old and I'm still on the mats training, well, that means that like in my 20s, I have to be smart. I can't just be like gong show and just train as hard as I can, spend like 20 hours fucking inverted on my neck. That's just not smart. But like, yeah, you have to be smart if you want to do it for a long time. If you look at jiu-jitsu and you're like, you know what? I'm a pro athlete. I'm just going to kill myself for a year or two, like win a couple world championships, take some acai and Jesus and then just die. And that's cool.
What do you mean by acai and Jesus?
No comment on that one.
I think Aaron's looking for a lot of acai and Jesus.
No, I'm good.
Post-COVID recovery.
COVID. Yeah, like you see two kinds of people. You see the ones that like came out of the pandemic like fat, and then the other ones that just came out just fucking ripped.
They got bigger and stronger. All on Jesus, 100%.
It's all because of Jesus.
That's what we say here. Yeah, yeah. That's the way.
I think it's a good time for an ad break. Spirit Leaf Water Down, 64 Hamilton Street North. There's no Jesus there, but you got CBD, THC, all the gummies that you could use, and whatever your heart desires. Alex and his crew there will help you out when you're back in town. If you're back in the GTA, Spirit Leaf Water Down, they got all your needs. Unfortunately, they may have acai in the future. They may have CBD infused acai. That could be a possibility.
That'd be so sick. Imagine acai infused bomba.
just drip a little bit into your acai and then you're set. They've really solid products though. But yeah, check them out. I want to talk about like kind of like the current scene, the world scene. I know you're a big Gracie Barra guy. Do you follow like a lot of like what's going on, current scene wise, or anybody that you're watching? Like whose instructionals are you watching on your recovery days? Like who you studying, emulating?
The great thing about Gracie Barra, there's a lot of great things. One is I'm exposed to so many high levels guys. Like, like there's like Otavio here, Professor Kendall here. Like Professor Kendall just dropped like, I think she did like a 10-hour instructional, just like takedowns for jiu-jitsu. So I have a lot of resources already, but right now, like, I try to keep it inside of Gracie Barra, to be honest. Like I'm a little bit biased, but that's kind of my way. I love, like right now I'm watching a lot of like Giacomo's instructionals, Lucas Valence's stuff. Been watching a lot of Pedro, Tavio, Romulo, just the main guys, Felipe Ben, a lot of his stuff too. That's a lot for the gi though. A lot of the gi stuff, I watch a lot of Gracie Barra guys. It kind of depends too. So like the way Gracie Barra works is like every week we have like a theme of the week. So like last week is mount. I think next week's like top guard, things like that. So whatever the week is, I try to base off my training with that, just because that's what I'll be teaching. So if I know I'll be teaching it, then I'm training it, and it just helps like keep the mind sharp with it. So like this week, like I'll probably be watching like Draculino's instructional. But the weeks where I'm doing a lot of no-gi stuff, I'll be watching a lot of the DDS stuff, like Gordon Ryan, John Danaher stuff. So they're kind of my like two favorite ones to watch. A lot of times I just kind of sit with Saul, and whatever he's watching, I'm watching it too. So that's for instructional wise. But jiu-jitsu wise, man, there's so many good guys right now. Like Johnny Dripple is one of them who just went out, and like he's really not someone that people talk about often, but people should talk about more. Like he went on, I think it was where was it? Emerald Invitational.
Emerald City Invitational. That's right.
And he just like went and just smoked everyone. Like that was awesome to watch.
Smoked that one heel hook.
That heel hook from hell.
If he dies, he dies.
That's what it is. When you're fighting for money, and like especially that, and like at that level, guys, not that they're stubborn, but man, those guys don't tap. Like you put Kennedy in an armbar, there's no way he's tapping. Put Berto in an armbar, he's not tapping. Like you got to crank it, and it is what it is. But it's also competition. Your competition, you're fighting for like 10K. So I know a lot of people thought that was dirty, but it's part of the game.
I think so too. Honestly, I agree, especially at like a professional jiu-jitsu level. Like, your goal is to get a submission. Your goal is to win. Like, I'm pretty sure like Gianni didn't have any ill will or towards any of his opponents there, but like he saw an opportunity, he took it. That's the way it is. Like, could have been an armbar, could have been a heel hook, could have been whatever the case may be.
And at that level too, like, that's what you learn too, rolling with those guys, is like things happen so fast. Like the game is so fast. It looks sometimes very slow, but like the micro positions, everything that's going on, it happens very fast. So if you see an opportunity, if you don't want to miss it, you have to go, and I think that's what Gianni did there. Props to him. He did awesome out there. Mika is a big guy too on the scene that came out and just smoked everyone as well. Mika Galbao, he just got his black belt recently. He's really good. There's a lot of guys that are crushing it. Oliver Tazen is one of them. He's competing more IBJJF now since that the heel hooks have been there. He's doing really good. A former teammate of mine, Bruno Matias, he's really doing so well. Like he's really like, I'm really super proud of him. Like he's going out and just putting his name out there on everything. And he's beating guys like, Andre Porfirio beat him like a couple weekends ago. And like, he's really putting himself out there. He fought Hulk. Like, man, who fights Hulk? Who wants to fight Hulk? I don't want to fight Hulk. Fuck that. And he like pulled up to be in that weight division. And, man, he took him on. He fight him no-gi pants. He did like, super well against him. Pedro Marino, of course, like I'm watching him a lot. Just because like I spent so much time with him that like I just seem like he's a really big like idol of mine. So Pedro, he's awesome to watch. And yeah, a lot of the Gracie Barra guys right now on the scene are crushing it. And like they're slow and up and comers, but like guys are gonna know them very soon. Like Pedro and Bruno, they're the two main guys that like, man, keep an eye out for them, and they're just crushing everybody. I like to watch some of the AOJ guys as well, like Lucas Hulk. He's really good. I was watching his fight with Matias Diniz the other day. We're like BJJ Stars. That was really cool. Interesting call on that one.
Interesting finish. I think we talked about that a while ago. So I think Aaron made a smart ass Instagram about it, and I think Hulk responded. I think he's coming for you.
Probably.
Probably gonna tear you in half, and then eat an acai bowl after over your corpse.
You're good. He'll never come because in Ontario it's too cold.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm fine. I'm never leaving anyways. Got nowhere to go.
So we all agree that Aaron's ducking Hulk then.
I would too.
I would too.
I'm not rolling with him. Like that.
Okay. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, man, Hulk's doing really good. He's actually like really impressive on like he's always won a lot of things, but especially in no-gi now, like he was kind of one of those dark horses before where like you weren't sure what kind of Hulk was showing up in the no-gi. He was either like doing really well or doing okay. now he's consistently winning everything, which is like props to him. It's really good real cool to see that.
Yeah, he's looked really impressive. I think I saw him against William Tackett as well, and just put on a passing clinic where it was just like he was just running up the points.
I was very critical about that because that was a short notice fight for William Tackett, and he outweighed him by like 20 pounds, and I was like,
listen, I have to tell you, William's impossible to tap. You know,
I'm not saying it was like Hulk didn't do a good job. I just like I wasn't too impressed with it. That's all I was saying.
I'm not impressed with your performance. That's Aaron right now.
Your performance, I know. George. Yeah, I don't know. With William, I think like William also wasn't playing a very active game either. Like a lot of people are like giving shit to Hulk because of that fight. Like, man, William just kind of laid there and just tried not to get tapped for.
Do you think he was just trying to survive the whole time versus like, hey, I'm going to try to attack and see what happens. I'll open up. If he gets me, he gets me.
I think he was just trying to prove a point that like he couldn't get tapped, but like, which is cool. But you're trying you're like, I think it was who's number one, right?
It was on who's number one because it was originally supposed to be Hulk versus Craig Jones, and Craig Jones broke his hand, and then he couldn't fight.
Yeah, like, man, you're fighting on that stage. I'm sorry, but. Like I think I saw during the match, Will kind of let Hulk pass his guard. It's like, bro, it's like, one, you're fighting Hulk. Two, you're on who's number one. Like, at least try to do something. Like, of course, it's Hulk, and like I would die if I fought him. But like, you know, it's just like that kind of part too. It's like it's so hard to tap a guy that doesn't want to fight. You know, and like,
I agree.
I think that's the big problem right now in like the jiu-jitsu community is a lot of guys they show up to win, but they don't show up to fight. You know, like, especially in the gi. I find like that's a big problem in the gi right now. Like, guys will fucking get 2 points and they'll stall their fight out. You know, which is cool. Great. You can be a world champion like that as well. But
believe me, I've tried. Believe me, I've tried.
Yeah.
That's based around the rules, right?
Yeah.
I think it's playing within the rule set.
Yeah. You know, but like, you look at fight to wins, like, man, there's guys that go on fight to wins and play 50-50, you know? Like, I say that, I was in, like, my last fight on fight to win, like, that's what happened. Like, you know, I got tied up in the lapel in 50-50 game during, like, a supposedly submission
during a submission only tournament where
like
trying to stall and, like, win by an advantage in that rule set, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It's cool, but, you know, at the same time, I'd much rather watch a guy like Pedro Marino, who's doing this, like, you know, like he fought in SUG the other day and did this like tag team format where like literally it was like WWE where you just had to tag your partner and they would like
that's amazing.
See, Mike and I had a conversation with
this is a while ago.
Like Fight Atlantic series. The name is totally off.
With Daniel White's thing?
No, it was
No, Derek what?
Derek Clark. We had him on a while ago.
Clark from Fight League Atlantic. And basically he was telling us about a tournament that they did. It was tag team style. And I was like, this is the greatest idea ever. And if somebody did it in an organized event, it would be amazing.
Like,
give me your hand, tag me in.
Quintet style, but like tag team quintet. Where like it's like there's 5 guys. If you tab them, you're out. But if not, you can tag whoever. Or like battle royale style of like 5 guys versus 5 guys just running at each other.
Sounds like amazing. That sounds great.
Gets you 5-on-5.
Heel hooks. Every submission and heel hooks, you get an extra 100 points if you crank them on like Johnny did.
As long as you don't do that stuff in training, maybe I didn't have an issue with it overall in a tournament, especially like a professional jiu-jitsu tournament where, you know, pretty much you're going to kill.
Yeah. You know, another thing in training is like it depends what your mindset is compared to training. Yeah. There's guys that like, you know, if you think of a submission, sure, and train like there's different types of classes. Competition team. If you have an armbar and the guy's not tapping, You're not letting go of the power bar.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, well,
but
someone's being
in the fundamentals class, you're not going like ripping submissions.
Two stripe, like a new like female to the class. Like, well, like the heel hook's there. I mean,
listen,
it is what it is.
It just depends on what the style is and who's there. To be honest, like Professor Saul, like on Thursday, I wasn't tapping the heel hook, and like it's not like he let it go. He just cranked it more and slowly cranked it more, and then eventually tapped. And that's how heel hook should be trained. Like you should progressively add them on. Like the way we did in Ottawa was like we started with like wrist tap. So like if you could like expose the heel and just like touch it with your wrist, like that was it. And then after that, like the week later, we did like, okay, you have to like hold the position. If you can hold like the heel for 3 seconds, then you win. Okay, and then after that, we're going to slowly work on like the breaking mechanics, but we're still going to roll with just the getting the position. And then eventually, okay, now we're going to work on the defense because we don't want anyone just like spinning out of stuff that they shouldn't be spinning it out of and then destroying the knees. So then we started working on the defense. And then we started rolling, okay, now with heel hooks, we're going to start cranking it slowly. If you get it, like just no one move, work on finishing well. Okay, everyone's got the finishing well. Okay, now we're going to work on defending it. We'll do some micro positional. Okay, now full on heel hooks during the round. I think when you progressively add them on, there's no problem. But if you just go one day and another, like, okay, guys, heel hooks, like that's when you get guys that just watch Gordon Ryan on YouTube and then try to like fucking destroy each other's heels and like break their knees. Like that's a problem. But then again, I'm not black belt. I don't know much.
No, that's honestly like a smart, progressive way of training. Not even just heel hooks, but like just any position, really. Just
like that's how it should be. It's kind of everything. Before you're able to train sparring, you have to get like 1 stripe or 2 stripes or however the gym works. You have to get some kind of experience before starting to spar full on round. It's kind of the same thing with heel hooks. If you don't know like how to defend them, why would you start doing them in sparring? It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's like different training mindsets, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's like anything. Like you're going into knowing what you're training for, and as you progressively build into it, everybody's on the same page, right? And that's how the whole group should be acting. Compared to one person has a different agenda compared to the rest of the group. That's where injuries and problems happen. I mean, freak accidents happen all the time, and you can't get away from that. But as long as the group has an agreement of where the progression is.
Yeah, and I think like another thing too, when we talk about competition team, is like I think there's a difference. Like me and Professor Bruno Fernandez, we were actually talking about this earlier this morning, of like the difference between a competition class and a competition team. Like there's a very big difference that people don't talk enough about it. It's like a competition team, you'll have like max like 5 guys in there, like 5 to 6 guys who are just killers that go in the competition class to progressively get better. And then you get other guys like the hobbyists who go in the competition class just to train and just to be there as extra bodies. And that's okay too. But when we talk about like progressive training and like adding things on, like you can't do that with like just hobbyists. Like you have to do that with a team that's consistently there day in and day out, or else it doesn't work. You can't progressively add things when guys don't show up every day. Yeah, that's like the big thing too, as to competition training. Not enough consistency. I find like a lot of people, they just like go to train in the competition class, they do one hard class and they die, and then they like never show up for like 2-3 weeks, and then they'll show up again. But yeah.
Do you feel you're getting like that competition team feeling in Canada, or are you getting more of that feeling now being in the US, kind of experiencing it with that type of mentality there?
So here it's really cool too, because like I'm living with Professor Kendall and Professor Sowell. Mm-hmm. So like we're like training together, then we like teach, and we like, there's 3 different schools. So we kind of like, most of the time we like go to a different school each. And then we'll come back in at night, and again, we're still together. So we're always together. So that helps build a really good team spirit. And again, like, you know, like we live 5 minutes away from the gym. So like if we want to train, we'll just go walk to the gym. Okay, we'll train. So that helps a lot building that like, team atmosphere. And like, of course, you know, like that also helps where like one day, like let's say Professor Kendall's like, you know, she's feeling off that day. But then me and Saul were like super high in energy and like we're ready to go that day. Well, then that kind of helps bring Kendall's energy up as well. Because now she's like, okay, well, if you don't take the day off, if you take the day off, you feel lazy because you see like your two roommates going out to train. If you don't follow, you feel not left out, but you feel lazy. So that helps staying consistent. Like, and like over here too, like we have, I'm working with a mental performance coach here. And he's really helping us a lot, like building routines and like keeping in our routines, like staying consistent. Like we have like our morning routines or night routines, or like our routines during like water breaks, during like our days where we have like a good recovery day or a bad recovery day. Like it like just having a lot of routines and being consistent with the routines. Like when you living with like 2 to 3 people that are like pushing for the same goal, it helps you stay consistent and it helps you stay motivated as well. So that definitely helps for sure here. In Canada, like I was living with my parents and it was awesome, you know, with them too. But you know, they're not training every day.
They're not jiu-jitsu black belts.
They're not training every day. You're not pulling them on the mats in the basement and be like, hey, mom, dad.
Mom, we're not training. Why not?
I know.
Like, every day.
Obviously, like they support me in like so many other ways, and they're awesome with that. But you know, it's not the same thing. You know, when you're here, like let's say I have a question, I'm like 50. Okay, I kept getting stuck. Like I was going on my crab ride instead of going straight to leg drag. People were pulling me in 50-50 all week. Like all I have to do is like go upstairs. Hey, professor, what is that? Why is this happening? And then he'll tell me like 5 different reasons. Okay, well, sweet. Now I know why. And then, okay, now I'll write it down. And then after that, okay, hey, professor, do you want to go draw at the gym? Okay, we'll walk 5 minutes. We're at the gym. And then we can work on what we just talked about. So it finds like, especially like fixing those mistakes, much easier. Like, yeah, that's such a great tool to have. Like, and super grateful that I'm able to live with those 2 high-level black belts. Yeah, that definitely helps for sure. You know, back home, I also have Professor Cameron. You know, Cameron's another high-level black belt. You know, and I can't wait for him to start competing on black belt. He's just gonna go on a tear for sure. But it's kind of the similar thing where like I just kind of have to wait till I'm at the gym. And, like I can ask Cameron pretty much anything. I can pick his brain and he'll help me out. So I think I have a very similar atmosphere both in Ottawa and here. It's just here I can have like an immediate response, whereas like in Ottawa I have to wait a little bit and be like impatient with it. And yeah, that's just the big difference between the two.
Yeah, for sure. So question for you, because obviously you're training with all these different guys that are obviously going to be going to big shows, whether it's ADCC, Fight to Win, or Who's Number One, or all the tournaments that are going on in the area. And obviously, you know, being part of a big team, you're obviously going to see a lot of other big teams competing at these same events. And so obviously the last couple of days, the whole fight sports allegations and all these different things have happened throughout the world, right? And so there's a lot of allegations, a lot of obviously stuff that's been happening, whether it's sexual assault, everything. Have you guys talked together as a team as like how you're if these other affiliates are going to be at that tournament, like how you're going to react to it, or you're just kind of moving forward, kind of have your team talk and kind of move forward with it?
So I have to give a shout out to Professor Kendall here, Kendall Rusing. If you look, like ever since those allegations came out, she's been such a strong voice in the community about it. Like she's posting everywhere, like with Mo, with everyone, and like really making sure that the victims' voices are heard. And you know, like with her, we talked about it a lot. You know, and like with Gracie Barra, this amazing thing is like, you know, we have so many schools around the world. Like I think we have around like 900 schools around the world. So we definitely don't want those things to happen. So we have to put things in place. And I know like Gracie Barra right now, like Professor Flavio and Professor Kendall, I'm sure they're talking about it right now on how to do steps for the future to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think the future of jiu-jitsu is to make sure that, like, you know, if the teams want to keep growing, like we're growing, to have like a PR team that's separated from jiu-jitsu. That's what needs to happen in order for for everything to be better. Cause like, it's great that teams are like dealing with these situations, but the problem is a lot of the times it's like, if you're great at jiu-jitsu, like you're going to get like a slap on the wrist maybe, and then they're just going to send you off somewhere people see you less, and then you're going to still be able to train and compete, which is not right. You know, that's not okay. It's not because you're great at jiu-jitsu that you can do whatever the fuck you want. You know, it's like a black belt means something. You know, wearing that black belt around your waist not only means that you're good at jiu-jitsu and you've done your years on the time, like it says something about who you are as a person as well. And people need to remember that as well. And I think that's going to be the future of like setting up PR teams that are not related to the jiu-jitsu or not related to the team. So like example for Gracie Barra, like we would have a team of lawyers that's literally separated, that doesn't train jiu-jitsu, that knows nothing about jiu-jitsu. That way, if in case like a situation like the Marcel Gonzalez thing that happened, it's like, okay, well, they're going to deal with that. And they're so unbiased because they're not on the team. They're not on the mats. They're not part of the jiu-jitsu community. That they can have an unbiased opinion and do and just give justice where justice is due. Yeah. I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah, I don't think we could have said anything better, honestly. I think we'll just leave it at that. One of the last things we wanted to just chat with you this evening about is, you know, what are your future plans? Like, what are the goals that you want to accomplish? And, you know, any sponsors, anybody you want to shout out, we'll give you the floor, say what you want, and we'll wrap this up.
Man, right now, goals right now, Pan Ams. I got Pan Ams in 2 weeks. And then after that, Gi Worlds, hopefully no-gi trials, ADCC trials, no-gi worlds, International Jiu-Jitsu Con. I'll be competing a lot in this next few months, leading up to December. That's kind of my short-term goal. A long-term goal, you know, I look up a lot to Professor Cameron. You know, he's like one of those guys that's bringing a high-level jiu-jitsu and just bringing light to the jiu-jitsu community and like the high-level platform, you know, and like that's kind of my goal one day is to put Canada on the map as, you know, one of those big countries, you know, like kind of like I look at like what Tommy and Espen's doing in Norway, you know, like we're slowly talking about Norway a little bit more. You know, kind of the same thing with Canada, but more on a world platform. We're like, okay, now we got Dante as a no-gi world champion on black belt. Like, we're gonna get more black belt world champions very soon, and you know, I'm sure Cameron is eventually gonna get up there. You know, we got guys like Darson down in Toronto, and so many great guys like Nathan DeSanjos. Like, man, he came down to the States and just started crushing everyone. You know, so that's really going to help as well. But yeah, just bringing high level jiu-jitsu to Canada on a more international level. Like, I find in Ontario, the level is very good, but we keep it like it's weird. We kind of, it's imagine like we build a wall around Ontario and we just keep it there. Like, man, it's weird.
Right. It's like Trump running on Ontario.
Yeah.
We need to keep the jiu-jitsu out.
It's true, you know, how many Canadians are you seeing right now in the scene? You know, like 5 to 10, maybe, if that. You know, like max 20. You know, like
we're seeing a lot of, like, I think the high level guys going to the US right now just because of all the restrictions and everything that's been happening. But you know, I think that'll change very soon because, you know, like there's a lot more things. There's a lot, you know, the travel restrictions are going to be a lot easier, so it's going to be easier to travel back and forth. So you'll see, I think, a lot more people starting to go down to, especially the states that compete.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. And like, I think long-term wise, it would be really cool to see, like, you know, bring Fight to Win in Canada. You know, like, you know, I'm spending a lot of time with those guys as well, like the Third Coast Grappling guys as well. Like, man, bring one of those super shows to Toronto or something like that. I think that would be really cool. Man, the big thing too is we need more than one IBJJF tournament a year. Like, it's nonsense that we just have like Toronto Open once every 2 years, and that's it.
And then Montreal, like jiu-jitsu still illegal. Like you can't,
like,
can't run a jiu-jitsu tournament. Like it's ridiculous.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, how is that still a thing? You know, like we need to get like a good team, more on like, you know, obviously we need to get a governing body first in Quebec to figure out. Quebec needs to figure their shit out when it comes to
Quebec. Figure your shit out, Quebec.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
But yeah, sponsors wise, Gracie Barra, Prodigy Athletics based in Montreal. They're hooking me up with some geese too. They're really cool. Other than that, shout out to my GB Ottawa fam. Miss you guys. I'll be back soon. Other than that, yeah, just come see me in Canada and then the States. If you're out here competing, good job. Let's send more guys out here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
No, well, Jeremy, it was really a pleasure having you on the show. I really do appreciate it. Wish you all the best at Pan Ams in the next couple of weeks, and we hope to see you, obviously, up on that podium would be great, and then send us a shout-out.
That's going to be awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Have a good week.
See you, buddy.